Two women. Same city, same street. Cindy earns $52,000 a year. Renee earns $94,000. And Cindy is the one who sleeps at night. That was the problem. Renee made almost double, and Renee was the one 2 paychecks from falling apart. Walk into Renee's apartment. A 75-inch television on the wall. A $4,000 sectional. A kitchen full of gadgets, half of them still in the box. Closets so full the doors barely close. Walk into Cindy's apartment. Space, a plain couch, a normal television, a kitchen with the tools she actually uses. 18 months of expenses saved. 20% of every paycheck invested. Same street. The woman earning half as much has 10 times the security. This is not a story about income. This is the thing almost nobody understands about money and stuff. And by the end of this, you are going to see your own home differently. Because Renee is not reckless. She does not gamble. She does not have some expensive secret. She just built a life, slowly, that needs every single dollar she earns to keep standing. Cindy learned something Renee never did. Owning less did not mean living worse. It meant living on purpose. And living on purpose left a gap between what she earned and what she spent. That gap is where all real money is built. Today, I am walking you through the rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do. Same income. Different rules. Let me start with the one that reframes every purchase you will ever make. Rule 1. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is the price tag. The number on the receipt. Everybody sees that one. The second cost is the one nobody counts. Storage, upkeep, attention, opportunity. That treadmill needs floor space. Space is not free. In most cities, you are paying $30 to $50 a square foot every year just to have a room. A treadmill eats about 20 square feet. That is $600 to $1,000 a year in quiet rent to store a machine you hang your clothes on. Think about that. The boat in the driveway needs insurance, registration, winterizing, repairs. The rule of thumb is 10% of its value. Every year, a $30,000 boat costs $3,000 a year to simply exist. Even if it never touches the water. You did not buy the object once. You are buying it again. Every year, forever. Rule 2. Run the replacement test. Walk through your home. Look at each thing you own. Ask one question. If this vanished today, would I spend money to buy it again? Be honest. Would you rebuy the fondue set? The bread maker in the back of the cabinet? The clothes you have not worn in 18 months? For most of it, the answer is no. That means those things have negative value. They cost you space, cleaning, attention, and give nothing back. Federal researchers have found that visual clutter raises stress hormones and makes it harder to focus. Your stuff is draining you in a way you cannot even feel. You are not keeping those things on purpose. You are keeping them out of habit. There is a difference, and the difference is expensive. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. Here is the pattern I see in almost every high earner who has nothing saved. They replace things that work. Not because they broke, because they got bored. The phone makes calls, sends texts, runs everything. But the new one has a slightly better camera. The car runs perfectly, but the new model looks a little sharper. The couch is fine, they are just tired of looking at it. The average person swaps phones every 2 to 3 years, usually while the old one still works. Stretch that across 30 years, and it costs $30,000 to $50,000. Add cars, furniture, gadgets, and the lifetime waste clears $200,000. $200,000. Gone. To boredom. An item is not broken because you are bored of it. Boredom is not failure. Marketing just taught you to feel it that way. Rule 4. Build friction for spending. Build ease for saving. People love to talk about willpower. Willpower runs out. By 9 at night, tired and stressed, your willpower is empty. So the ones who win do not rely on it. They rebuild their environment instead. They delete the saved cards from every shopping site. They put a 24-hour wait on anything that is not essential. They pull the shopping apps off the phone. That one waiting rule, by itself, kills about 70% of impulse buys, because most wants simply disappear overnight. And they flip it for saving. The transfer to investments happens automatically, on payday, before the money is ever seen. Savings becomes a bill, not a leftover. You are not weak. You are just fighting a system built to make spending effortless. Change the system, not yourself. Rule 5. Count what you own. This sounds obsessive until you actually do it. Pick one category. Count it. Write the number down. How many shirts do you own? Guess first. Almost everyone guesses low, then finds 3 times more than they thought. 47 shirts. 60 pairs of shoes never worn twice. Once you know the number, the next purchase feels different. You are not buying a shirt. You are turning 47 into 48. The counting is the medicine. Awareness alone slows you down more than any budget ever will. Rule 6. Rent it before you buy it. Most things get used hard for 2 weeks, then sit forever. So test the excitement before you pay for it. Want to camp? Rent the gear for the first few trips. Want to try woodworking? Borrow the tools. Want to kayak? Rent it 3 times first. You find out fast whether the interest is real or just a mood. And garages across America are full of dead moods. Ski gear from the winter someone swore they would ski. Camera equipment from the month they were going to go pro. Do not become a museum of things you used to want. Rule 7. Watch the multiplier. Nothing you buy stays alone. Everything drags friends behind it. A boat needs a trailer, a bigger vehicle, storage, safety gear, a place to keep it. A home gym needs flooring, mirrors, ventilation, sometimes a whole renovation. A pool needs chemicals, covers, furniture, cleaning tools. The $5,000 purchase is quietly a $9,000 purchase. The number on the tag was never the real number. And it runs backward too. Sell the one big thing, and a whole category of costs disappears with it. Rule 8. Decide what enough is before you earn it. This is the trap that swallows high earners whole. They never decide what enough looks like. So the income rises, the lifestyle rises to match, the new life becomes normal, and now they need even more to feel any progress. That is why someone on 300,000 can feel as squeezed as someone on 80. Their idea of enough moved every time their paycheck did. The ones who build real wealth draw the line first. This house is enough. This car is enough. This closet is enough. Then everything above that line goes straight to freedom. Someone who decided enough was 60,000 of spending, then started earning 150, builds wealth at a speed most people never touch. The gap does the work. Without a line, you run a race with no finish. The lifestyle always sprints just ahead of the income. Rule 9. Measure wealth by choices, not by things. Most people measure money by what they have. The house, the car, the things you can point to. Measure it by what you can choose instead. Can you walk away from a job that is breaking you? Can you take 6 months off for a sick parent? Can you move cities for someone you love? Can you say no to money that costs you your values? Those choices are the real wealth, and they only exist for people who left a gap between what they earn and what they spend. The one earning 200,000 and spending 195 has almost no choices, chained to the paycheck. The one earning 80 and spending 45 can absorb almost anything life throws. Every purchase is a trade. Money for the object, yes, but also a little bit of your freedom to choose, for a thing you will forget you own. Rule 10. Declutter in small loops, not once a year. Almost everyone does it wrong. One giant purge in January. Feels amazing for 3 weeks. Then it slowly fills right back up, and nobody notices the refill. The ones it sticks for, do it in loops. 3 things out this week. One category checked this month. A quick look at the trend every few months. 3 things a week is easy. 300 things in one weekend is a wall you keep putting off. The loop keeps you awake to your own patterns. You start to see which moods make you buy, which store gets you every time. That awareness is the whole game. Here is what I want you to take from Cindy and Renee. The gap was never about salary. Renee earned more every single year. The gap was about 100 small decisions made on autopilot that turned Renee's income into Renee's cage. So do one thing this week. Not someday. This week. Walk through your home. Find 10 things you would not buy again. Sell them, give them away, let them go. And feel what it is like to have a little more room and a little more money at the same time. Because owning less was never about having less. Cindy has less stuff and more life. 18 months of calm in the bank and a street full of neighbors who make more and sleep worse. Same city. Same street. Different rules. The choice was never how much you earn. It was whether you own your things or your things quietly own you. If this reached you, send it to one person you love who is drowning in a life that looks like success. Subscribe and hit the bell because the next number I show you is going to change how you look at your own paycheck. Both apartments are still available to you. The math already picked one.